Prince Andrew, it emerges over the weekend, told Jeffrey Epstein in an email, quotes, "We're in this together." This is after the picture of the British royal, Prince Andrew, British royal, with his arm around the teenager Virginia Giuffre was first published in 2011. But the dating of it doesn't quite tally with what the Prince told Emily Maitlis in her interview on Newsnight, which, as you know, was unforgettable. Emily's here with me in the studio, co-host of Global's podcast, The News Agents. I'm guessing when you read this, you immediately looked to your notes and thought, no, this doesn't tally.
Yeah, none of it quite adds up, does it, Sheila? Because Epstein was convicted in 2008. He then served this prison sentence. And the narrative from Andrew had always been, after I realised who he was, broadly, I ended contact with him. Now, that doesn't match up because in 2008, he'd already been a convicted sex offender. He'd served his short prison sentence. And Prince Andrew had told me that he'd broken off contact in 2006, but actually he hadn't, because then he went to go and stay with him in his townhouse in Manhattan in New York in 2010. And I remember this really odd phrase that he used. I was like, well, why did you go and stay with him? He's a convicted sex offender. And he'd said, I was too honourable. Was that really weird? I mean, you don't forget a phrase like that, do you? I was too honourable. I didn't want to do it in a letter. I didn't want to do it on an email. I thought the only way for me to do it was in person. Again, even if you think it's a more honourable thing to do, you don't actually need to stay in somebody's house for 4 or 5 nights.
No.
Right? That was the time.
And go
there was
wandering
a big party.
in public.
Well, there was a party held for him and there was lots of people present at the time. So clearly he hadn't just come to quietly deliver a message face-to-face and then go. He'd been a guest in this house for 4 days, and it was during this time that famous photograph was taken of the two of them together in Central Park. Now, when you read this email, and it's been shared by the Mail on Sunday and The Sun, we assume that this is true. The palace hasn't denied it. It says, "I'm just as concerned for you. Don't worry about me. It would seem that we are in this together and we will have to rise above it. Otherwise, keep in close touch and we'll play some more soon."
That bit was, when I read those last few words, I thought, oh my God, we'll play some more soon.
I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck. Can you?
It does not bode well.
That was in February.
Yeah.
So whatever he said in December didn't stick more than 2 months. And I think the trouble with this, Sheila, if I'm honest, is people have often asked me, did you believe Prince Andrew in that interview? Did you think he was guilty? Was he guilty? And I've always been really cautious of that. I've said, that's not my job. Yeah. I'm a journalist. I was in this extraordinary privileged position of being able to ask questions on behalf of other people, other young women who'd gone through all sorts of things at the hands of Epstein, who wanted answers. That was my only role.
Who he was in relation to him.
Who he was and what the relation was and what that friendship was. That was my role at the time. But as soon as something like this comes to light and you realise that if he was still messaging in February after having told me that he broke off all contact in December the year before, then that was in all probability a lie. And if he lied to me in that bit, and perhaps we should have a listen to it, you wonder what else is going on. Let's just hear in Prince Andrew's own words.
And I went to see him, and I was doing a number of other things in New York at the time, and we had an opportunity to go for a walk in the park, and that was the conversation, coincidentally, that was photographed, which was when I said to him, I said, look, because of what has happened, I don't think it is appropriate that we should remain in contact. And by mutual agreement during that walk in the park, we decided that we would part company, and I left, I think it was the next day. And to this day, I never had any contact with him from that day forward.
Never, OK? So he also said in that interview that in December of 2010, I had to show leadership, I had to go and see him, I had to tell him that's it. It clearly wasn't it.
Playing again soon.
Playing again soon. And actually, that now makes me think, really? Did you ever have that conversation? Did you ever
attempt to end it?
I mean, why would I believe that, given that the emails come to light talking about playing again soon. It doesn't sound like any part of their friendship was over. If anything, it sounds like they were more intense, they were more united as a front.
Bonding.
Than they had been before.
And where does this leave what the royal family has to do? Not as private members of the same family, but the palace. What does the palace have to do about this now? Because the Queen shelled out huge money for the Giuffre thing to go away legally. We hear about where Andrew will be allowed to live, where he'll be allowed to be seen in public, that kind of thing. Are there any more things they can do other than just drop him completely?
I mean, look, I think that the King, from my understanding, the King has made it fairly clear that there is a very simple line of succession now. You know, that there are fewer peripheral roles around. And I think that there is a gap, I think, between King Charles and Prince Andrew now. I think that's been well established, that he does not have a formal working role in any way. What are they going to do? Are they going to chuck him out of the country? I don't think they're going to do that, right? I don't think he's actually in Exodus. It's not kind of, it's not sort of 1400s kind of thing. But I do think it's going to be complicated, not least by a new book that is emerging next week. We're going to see the biography of Virginia Giuffre, the young woman that, as Virginia Roberts, accused Prince Andrew directly. She was the one that we were talking about in that interview. And she died last year, and by suicide, we understand. But she had been working for 10 years on a biography. And we're going to be able to read some of that in the coming weeks. And I think that will then open up a huge new slew of questions. And we haven't really had pushback from the palace or from Prince Andrew's own team on this latest email. I think if it was incorrect or false, somebody would have, slapped it down and said that's categorically untrue, and they haven't.
And there were those images, weren't there, at the funeral of the Duchess of Kent, of Andrew attempting to speak to Prince William. And I think we could rightly interpret, maybe it's risky to interpret that just on the images alone, but William looked like he wanted to be anywhere but standing next to his uncle, and his uncle speaking to him. He was not going to engage with him in chat, was he?
Well, because it's a parlour game even for the cameras, isn't it? Who's he talking to? Are they going to snub him? Who's going to end up next to him? Is he going to get the front of the line? Is he going to be pushed to the back? And it takes the oxygen out of any of these. That was a funeral. Right?
Yeah.
They don't want that stuff. They don't want it at a royal. The whole point of royal events is that they are about ceremony, and they are about panoply, and they are about
dignity.
The dignity and the perception of the thing. And if you have this sort of odd character who's sort of slithering around everyone at the time, it's very, very distracting to the message you want to be telling.
And he is, after all, who knows the relations that they have with one another, but he is, after all, the brother of the king, the brother of the Princess Royal, and I guess they've still got fraternal affection, as far as we can tell. It's already an entirely private relationship, as you said. There's no professional element to what Andrew does in the royal family anymore. Will it just have to get even more so that we just don't see him?
I guess that is very
possible.
That's personal grief. That's personal. But we've now seen Fergie, Andrew's wife, who's lost her roles as the heads of several prominent charities.
Because of Epstein connections
again, because of the Epstein connection through her husband. I was told about a forthcoming drama where a sort of very prominent up and coming actress is been playing the role of Fergie, and they now don't know what to do. Do you publicise it?
She doesn't want to, does she, the actress?
Right. Yeah. So you're then sort of, does that still get shown? Does it not?
Yeah.
Have you spent a whole year, 2 years working on a drama that never comes out? It's odd, the sort of, the ramifications of this story just keep going on and on and on.
I'm just not mystified, but I'm amazed by the reach that this guy had. He worked on it, didn't he? He worked on that reach.
Look, we still don't know the absolute truth, even behind that photo taken in Central Park. But much of the reporting has suggested that it was very useful to Epstein because it provided sort of compromise. It links him. The number of people that have ended up lying for Epstein, whose careers have ended up in absolute tatters because of their connections to him. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg. I genuinely do. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg.